Welcome to Yeukai Business Show. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions, helping business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host, Yeukai Kechidori.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another special episode. And today I've got a special guest, somebody who is helping business owners in an amazing way, especially in the time that we find ourselves in, where everyone is wondering how can they get their message out there to the right people at the right time. On the show today with me is Paige Arnof Fenn. She's been in business for many, many years. She is a founding board member of Women's Entrepreneurs in Science and Technology. She is a past board chair of the Aluminum Board of Stanford University. She has been the appointed director for the Harvard Business School here. And what I love about Paige is she also runs her own business. So she knows what it is like to run a business. Paige, thanks again for joining us on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here, Yeukai.
I'm excited to have you on the show. Now, there's a lot of things I've missed out on there that I would love you to share with our audience today about yourself.
Great. So I started my marketing career at Procter & Gamble, which is probably the largest consumer products marketing company in the world. P&G invented the concept of brand management, and they have products in every category you can imagine: shampoo, soap, detergent, diapers, toilet paper, everything. And every category they compete in, they're number one or number two, or probably both in those categories.
Right.
So, it's really a great learning ground. It's a great place to get training because you're learning from the best. They make Crest and Tide and Pampers and Pantene and CoverGirl, all the top brands across all the important consumer categories. So I spent the early part of my career at P&G.
Wow.
And then I went to Coca-Cola. And Coke is another very top brand. They sell Coke in more than 200 countries around the world. It's a logo and a brand that people love. So again, I got very, very good training with a very established business, and companies like P&G and Coke have large budgets, so they spend a lot of money on advertising. So that's where I started.
Yeah.
Then I moved to the startups, and I worked as the head of marketing for 3 different startup companies, 1 in Los Angeles and 2 here in Boston. Startups are very different than big brands. Your budget is much smaller.
It's tight.
And very tight. You have to learn how to get very scrappy, very resourceful, more guerrilla marketing. And also, with small brands, when you give someone your business card, they don't know the logo. They don't know the brand. You're having to educate them and tell them about something. So when I worked for Coca-Cola and I gave someone my business card, they looked at it and they were immediately impressed. When I started with my first startup, no one had ever heard of it before. So it's a very different marketing challenge. You're trying to build awareness and get your name out there. And then 19 years ago, I started my own company. I became an entrepreneur doing my own consulting business. And that's starting completely from scratch with a very tiny budget. So again, I've moved from the biggest companies to startups to now a very small company. But the importance of marketing it's important at every stage. Whether you're a big company or a small company, you have to get known, you have to get the word out, you need customers and clients. So a lot of the core principles are exactly the same, but the budgets can be very different.
Indeed. And not only have you worked in this, you've sat on different boards like the Harvard Business School. Talk to us about that.
So I graduated from Stanford University for college. and Harvard Business School for my MBA. And both schools asked me to join their board after I became an alumni. I actually was the chair of the Stanford board,
Awesome.
and I was vice president of the Harvard board. So it's a great network. I loved being a student at both schools. Very interesting people that have had very interesting careers. So at Stanford, the board represented all the schools at Stanford: law school, medical school, engineering school, the college, so the perspective at the Stanford board was the entire university. At Harvard, I joined the board for 5 years, and then they asked me to be the director at the university. So Harvard has a university level board, and Stanford has 7 schools. I think Harvard has 14 schools. They have a divinity school, public health, the Kennedy School. So they have even more disparate, schools than Stanford. So each school gets 2 representatives on the full board, and I was the Harvard Business School representative on the university board. So that was very interesting too, because I spent 5 years focused on being the ambassador for the business school to all the other Harvard schools.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Well, with that wealth of knowledge, we're delighted to have you talk about this very special topic, how business owners can craft their message in such a way that it reach the targeted audience. So I've entitled our show here today as the 3 surefire ways to using your stories to getting the attention of your businesses, of your targeted audience. And I'm hoping we will cover that in our time we have today. Now, if somebody was to ask you, Paige, based on your experiences that you've had, what is the number one thing that a business owner needs to get right when it comes to putting their message out there?
So the number one thing is you have to understand that you're building a brand.
Right.
And I think a lot of people think, I'm not Coca-Cola, I'm not LeBron James, I'm not Oprah, I'm not a big brand. Nobody, it doesn't matter. If you're David Beckham, yes, of course you're a brand. If you're Lady Gaga, of course you're a brand. But me, no way. I disagree. I think everybody is a brand, and especially if you own a business, you're a brand and your business is a brand. And you have to treat your business and your own personal life as you need a foundation to build a strong brand. So think about what it is that makes you and your business unique, special, and different. And you need to reinforce that in everything that you do. On your website, on your business card, if you have an outgoing message on your voicemail, the signature at the bottom of your email. Everything you do needs to reinforce and be consistent with the brand you're building. And it doesn't matter if you're B2B, B2C, technology, nonprofit. Everybody needs to build a brand because that's how you stand out. Otherwise, you're a commodity. You're invisible. And if you're invisible, you're going to have to compete on price. Nobody wants to be competing on price. If you're a brand, you get to charge a premium. People pay more for brands. They want to connect with brands. You have to have a personality for your brand.
Right. So what is the best way for them to build that brand? Let's talk in terms of the time we are living right now, where things are shifting. There's a lot of changes that is happening. How can somebody build that brand or maybe reinvent that brand?
Yes, that's a great question. So if you know what your brand was before the pandemic, chances are it may have changed, because a lot of businesses have had to pivot and change direction because of the crisis. So it's important first to understand the brand that you have, that it already existed. What did you stand for? What do your customers or clients think about you? And if you knew that before, you have to check and make sure that's still true, because so many things in the world have changed that many of the assumptions have changed. So the best way to start figuring that out is to do some market research. But you need to ask your customers, why do you like us? What do you use us for? What if you don't use us, who do you use? Why do you prefer them? So you need to get some basic understanding of what's happening in the market right now. Because, at least here in the U.S., many habits have changed because of the pandemic. People aren't going to restaurants anymore. They're only using takeout. They pick up and take out. They're not, they can't go to the movies. They can't go to the theme parks. They're not traveling on airplanes. So maybe they're doing more bicycling, more hiking. Mm-hmm. Maybe the food is more simple. Entertainment is more intimate, more personal. You have to be relevant for what is happening in the market today, not what people were doing 6 months ago. Because if you have an advertisement that 6 months ago showed lots of people in a crowd doing something at a sporting event, people will look at that and think you're crazy. Nobody's in crowds, and if they are, they're all wearing masks. So you definitely have to make sure that anything you're doing represents reality today, not 6 months ago, because you're going to look very strange and it's not going to seem real. The other thing with market research, do not ask your mother, people that love you. They will give you an answer to make you happy, but they will not tell you the truth.
Yes.
So you have to do market research with real customers that are going to be honest with you. And if they won't be honest to your face, maybe you need to send them a survey over email. Maybe you need to hire somebody to ask the questions if you want to get honest feedback. But if you just ask people and they say, "Oh, you're doing a great job. We love you. You have a great business," but they don't give you honest feedback, it's not going to be helpful.
Incredible.
One question I really like to ask people is, tell me 3 words that come to mind when you think of me or my business. What are the first 3 things you think of? And you ask lots of different people the same question. And what's interesting is whether the words that come back resonate with you. Does that feel true to you? And are they the same words across lots of different people? Or do different pockets, different groups of people think of you differently? So it's very important to understand what the image is in the marketplace.
Right.
Do people think you're smart? Do they think you're scrappy? Do they think you're friendly? Do they think you've got a funny sense of humor? Do they think you're snarky and a little, have an edge? Do they think you work hard? Do they think you're lazy? Do they think you're happy? Do they think you scowl? What are the words that come back? What's the image that you're portraying? And if you start seeing themes emerge, you might realize, certain clients think of you one way and other clients, a different market, young people may see you as one thing and older people may see you as something else. That might be okay, but it might not help you build your brand. So you want to go ahead.
Paige, I was going to ask, suppose somebody is receiving all mixed messages or different messages. How can they take hold and create a message they want so that people will respond to that message?
So it's a great question. What you want to do is be very strategic.
Right.
So if you find the words that you want to come out are not coming out, or they're not coming out consistently, find 3 or 4 words that are very important to you and make them part of your core message. Unfortunately, companies like to tell you everything they do, but customers don't remember everything. They only remember maybe 1, 2, 3 things at the most. So you have to pick a maximum of 3 things that you want to be known for, you want to stand for, and reinforce that in everything you do. So if you want to be clever, if you want to be funny, if you want to be academic or a big technology, geeky, nerdy, whatever the image is you want to get across, it needs to come across on your website. It needs to come across in your brochures. It needs to come across on your business card, in your logo, with your outgoing message, in your signature block, with your logo, with your tagline. Everything communicates. Everything. So they all need to be consistent and connected. So if you keep those 3 things in mind and use that as a filter for everything you're doing, when you meet people, what are you saying? How do you look? If you're a very casual brand and you show up in khakis, maybe smart casual, but you're very low key, maybe tennis shoes, that's fine. If you're trying to be a casual brand and you show up looking very buttoned up in a suit and a tie with an ascot, that's inconsistent. You can't say you're casual and dress very proper. That would be a mistake. If you say you're casual, be casual. You can be smart casual, but you need to live your brand.
Right.
So, I would say make sure all the messages go down the same path so that you're consistently reinforcing your message with everything that you do. If you're a very friendly, low-key, business that targets young people, that's a very different image than a nerdy business that targets technology people. And that's a very different business than one focusing on the seniors who are more elderly and retirees. So you have to make sure, your website for a young person needs to have lots of video and lots of splash. For an older person, it better have bigger print. Everything needs to reinforce who you're targeting and what's important to them. How are they going to receive the message? I think companies get caught up in all the messages they want to communicate, all the features that their product or service offers. You need to focus, pick a few, and focus on the benefit to your audience, not on the features, on the benefits to them.
Incredible.
Because that's all they care about is what's in it for me.
You know, Paige, you've just touched on my next question. I was going to bring to you on that. That if you are creating stories, you really need to focus on one aspect, which is the benefits. Why is it like that instead of focusing on the features?
So I want to talk about stories first.
Okay.
Stories are really important because stories sell. People, they really like to be told stories because they remember the stuff and the facts and the history. They don't care. You have to put it in the context of a story so that they're interested, so that they're listening, so that there's context. And again, it comes back to think about it from their perspective. They're not trying to memorize a lot of facts and figures. What they want to know is, tell me a story about why your product or your service is going to help me. Is it going to save me money? Is it going to save me time? Is it going to be fun? Is it going to educate me, entertain me? Think about it from their perspective. And if you do that and you really share the stories that touch your heart, that's really what they're going to remember. And that will be a way for you to stand out versus your competition. And back to a question you asked earlier about now and this crazy time we live in. The stories need to show empathy and show that you understand that your customers and clients are struggling right now. Everybody's affected by the pandemic. All of our lives have been upended. Everything has changed. And we want to show through our story, we hear you, we understand you, and this is why our product and our service makes sense now. Because we know it's hard when you're separated from your family and your loved ones. It's hard for us too. We had a summer vacation that got canceled. We were supposed to get on an airplane or a cruise boat and travel. But since you can't do that, we thought maybe you would like to go on a bicycle ride with your family. And here's some great bicycle trips you can take, in your area. Well, that all of a sudden is a story. It relates to me. I understand. You see my problem. You understand that I'm in a difficult situation because I really would like to hang out with my friends and family, but we can't get together. But taking a hike and going on a bike ride would be a great way to spend time together and make sure nobody gets sick. And so now you have a story. Now you show empathy. Now there's a connection. So that's the way to approach it. And it's the same across every category in every industry.
For those who perhaps find themselves difficult to come up with a compelling story, are there any tools or how can they get started in crafting something that is compelling?
So it's interesting because we've worked with companies that they're industrial products, something not sexy, not glamorous, and they say, we don't have any stories. We just make widgets. Like, that's all we do.
That's
and
right.
When we start talking to people in the company, and you talk to the CEO, and you talk to the salespeople, talk to people at every level of the organization, and you will find great stories. Even in these crazy, tragic times where crazy, people's lives have been upended, there's some great stories about maybe you have a customer who was trying to, wanting to get married, and their wedding got postponed. But, they had some, maybe, they decided they wanted to do the justice of the peace instead. And they had some item that your company made, but your business closed. Maybe they emailed the company and send it to so that they had it for their quick wedding, the item, and it meant so much to them. That's a great story about connecting with your customers, and you've got a testimonial or a great story on your website that brings your product or service to life. And then that becomes a story. We had a client that they had to shut down because of a hurricane. And a lot of the employees stayed at the factory because it was too dangerous to leave in the middle of the hurricane. And they lived out of the vending machine in the employee break room for days. And they had these great stories about, I don't know if they have the TV show there called Survivor.
Oh, yes. It's on Netflix.
So we did they were going to a trade show after the hurricane, and we made a whole promotion about the people that survived from the company.
We're just having a few difficulties there, and we will be right back.
But, come to the trade show booth and meet the people that were the real survivors, not on TV, but they kept the company safe. And after the hurricane, the factory was in good shape because the real survivors were there. And we made a whole theme out of it before the trade show. And then people came to their booth and they wanted to meet the survivors. They were like famous at the trade show.
Wow.
And, again, we just create a story from something that happened that you could look at as a tragedy. But in fact, it was a great, memorable story that showed the culture of the business, the types of employees they have, and it helped them do recruiting. It helped them sell more products because people thought it was a really cool business that people would do that for the company.
Amazing. Well, as we come towards the end of our time together, I always want to talk to our guests about their routine. But before I jump onto this, how are you as a business owner, been building this 19-year-old business, of your own, still staying afloat, creating opportunities for others and making businesses grow? How, what mindset do you have? What keeps you going, keeping that going?
So I joke that after working for myself for 19 years, I think I'm unemployable. So I have to make it work because, if I don't think I could go work for anybody else. I'm completely unemployable. So out of desperation, I have to make my company successful so that I can keep my job because I love my boss. So it's the best boss of my whole career. But, I love what I do. And I think, as I said, when you're an entrepreneur and your business is, having trouble, you have to pivot. You have to figure out a new door to knock on, a new product, a new service. So that keeps me going because I love marketing. I love my clients. I love what I'm doing. And it makes it fun for me to get up in the morning and figure out, okay, today we're going to try something new. Or today let's see if we can't, get people to get excited about something, a new offering, or maybe you're seeing there's a new problem in the market and you have a fresh idea, a way to solve it. and I'm excited. It's exciting to me if I can figure out some new opportunity, a new way to help my clients be successful. But my routine has completely changed. Before the pandemic, I was running around crazy, networking, going to events. Some nights I would go to 2 events, 3 events. I was always running around all over town, downtown, the suburbs, meeting people. Now that I'm home working from my home office, I'm very productive. I'm very streamlined. I think I'm sleeping more. I'm more relaxed. I'm not traveling. But I'm in many ways through Zoom and all the online technology, I'm staying in really good contact with the people that I care about the most all over the world. Even if we can't see each other, we check in on each other. Yeah. And I feel like I'm more balanced now. So maybe that's the silver lining with everything going on. I feel like, I figured out new routines and new ways to connect with people and using technology to make connections and not letting it drive me so crazy.
Incredible. I like how you have adapted and making it work. That's what we do as business owners, as entrepreneurs. You just have to figure it out and it will work. And I love what you also said there that...
Yeah, I think that...
Go ahead.
It's in the DNA of an entrepreneur, I think.
It is indeed.
I think it's part of your DNA when you're an entrepreneur. You have to figure out a way to make it work. Otherwise, you won't survive.
That's true. Absolutely truth. Well, any final words for the those who are listening and are looking to create their story or reinvent themselves? What would you like to say to them?
So I would say, think of yourself as a brand and think of the brands that you like, that you use, that you trust, and think about why it is those brands exude positive energy. What makes you confident? What makes you want to buy them and use them? And you can learn from them and look online, see how they do their website, watch TED Talks from people that are strong brands. You can learn from everybody and use what you have. The single most important thing when you're building as a brand is it has to be authentic to you. Right. So make sure everything you do is authentically you. Don't try to be somebody else. Use what you have and use that to be different and special. And that's how you're going to connect to your audience.
Amazing. And those that would like to take their education further with you or maybe work with you, where can they find you?
So go to my website. It's www.mavensandmoguls.com. It's MAVENSANDMOGULS.com. And I have a lot of articles and talks that I give. So it's a great resource, and you can learn a lot about branding and messaging and communications. So feel free to, look at and read and learn. And if you want to talk, you can contact me. All my info is there on the website.
Incredible. Well, thank you so much, Paige, for spending some time with us and sharing your knowledge that you've amassed over many, many years and through a lot of learning. And for you to freely give. It's amazing. And we want to wish you the very best. Maybe we could have you on the show, probably talking about something else, like the mistakes people make when they're creating their stories.
And That's a whole different topic. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. It's been so fun. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Incredible, incredible. Well, we wish you all the very best. And for those who are listening, and thank you for being with us here today. And like we always say, if you're looking to improve your life, you have to keep on learning. And also, if you're looking for a virtual assistant to help you in your business, you know right where we are, or just click one of the buttons on this site and you speak to a project manager who will see how we can help you. With that said, we look forward to spending another quality time with you in another episode very, very soon. Have a great day and
thank you for listening to Yeukai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yeukai.businessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.